The stellar seeker hung motionless against Earth's backdrop, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in prismatic patterns across the observatory deck. Lead researcher Valon pressed his four-fingered hand against the transparent viewport, his silver eyes reflecting the blue-green planet below. After 3 cycles of observation, the confusion in his research team had only grown deeper. Another martial arts academy has opened in what they call South Korea. His assistant, Renly, reported, her holographic display showing street-level images. This brings the total to 12,438 distinct combat training facilities in that region alone. Valon's antenna twitched, a sign of deep thought among his species, and yet, he mused, in the same city block, they'd just inaugurated a performing arts center. The architectural design is beautiful. He zoomed in on the flowing lines of the building through his neural interface. How can they dedicate so much energy to both creation and combat? The question hung in the recycled air of the observation deck. It challenged everything the Galactic Survey Corps understood about civilizational development. Every other known species had followed a clear pattern. Once they achieved certain technological benchmarks, they naturally shed their combat instincts in favor of pure intellectual and artistic pursuits. "Sir," called out Teska, their cultural analyst, from his station. "You need to see this. I'm tracking a human military exercise in their Pacific Ocean region." But he paused, mandibles clicking in confusion. They're using tactics that appear in their historical records from something called the Battle of Midway. They're not just preserving their combat knowledge, they're actively studying and refining it. Valon floated across the deck, his gravity harness humming softly. The displays showed human vessels moving in complex patterns, each maneuver a deadly dance choreographed by centuries of naval tradition. Their ships may have evolved from steel to synthetic alloys, from fossil fuels to fusion drives, but the underlying strategies remained remarkably consistent. "Prepare for contact protocol," Valon announced, his voice carrying the weight of authority earned through decades of first contact missions. "But modify standard procedures. Something tells me we're dealing with a truly unique species." The announcement of their presence to Earth's governments went smoother than expected. Humans had long prepared for extraterrestrial contact through what they called science fiction, another peculiarity that merged their creative and tactical thinking. The United Nations building in New York hosted the first official meeting. Valon's team selected it after noting how humans had maintained this forum for peaceful resolution of conflicts, even while keeping their military capabilities sharp. As the Stellar Seeker's shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, Valon noticed the subtle positioning of human defense platforms. They were expertly hidden, yet his trained eye caught their telltale signatures. These humans were cautious, prepared, but not openly hostile. Admiral Sarah Chen met them at the landing pad, her diplomatic smile as carefully cultivated as her straight-backed military posture. "Welcome to Earth," she said, extending her hand in what their cultural briefings had identified as a peaceful greeting gesture. "We've been looking forward to meeting our galactic neighbors." Valon noted how she had positioned herself. Perfect sight lines to all approaches, multiple escape routes within easy reach, her honor guard placed with tactical precision, while appearing entirely ceremonial. Everything about these humans spoke of martial awareness wrapped in a velvet glove of diplomacy. "The honor is ours," Valon replied, using his translator. "Your world is quite fascinating. We have many questions about your unique development path." Admiral Chen's smile widened slightly. "We look forward to sharing our culture with you. There's so much we could learn from each other." She gestured toward the UN building, and Valon noticed how her gesture also served to direct their group along the most defensible path. As they walked, Valon's scientific mind raced with implications. His species had grown beyond the need for warriors long ago. But watching Admiral Chen, observing the subtle interplay of strength and diplomacy, he wondered if perhaps they had lost something valuable along the way. The first steps toward a new understanding of humanity had begun. even if the galaxy wasn't quite ready for what that understanding would reveal. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Academy stretched toward Centauri Prime's twin suns, their surfaces shimmering with stored knowledge. Dr. Carell hunched over his research station, his scaled fingers dancing across holographic displays as he dug deeper into Earth's historical archives. After 3 sleepless cycles, he had finally found something remarkable. "Computer, cross-reference these patterns again," he commanded, his voice rough from too many stimulant beverages. The neural network hummed, comparing ancient human cave paintings with modern military formations. The correlation was undeniable. "Professor," his research assistant, a young Morvadian named Lix, floated into the chamber. "The Council is asking about your missed deadlines." Carell barely looked up. "Tell them I found something unprecedented. These humans, they'd been warriors since before they could write." He gestured at the display, where primitive hunting formations mirrored modern space combat maneuvers. "Look at this game they call chess. We thought it was just entertainment, but it's a perfect simulation of ancient battlefield tactics." Out in the bustling trade lanes between Centauri Prime and the Outer Rim, Captain Marcus Wong of the merchant vessel Star Dancer was about to provide practical proof of Carell's theories. His ship's sensors picked up the telltale signature of approaching raiders, a common problem in this sector. "All hands, battle stations," Wong announced calmly, his voice carrying the steady confidence of someone whose ancestors had sailed Earth's oceans for generations. "Let's show them why humans never lost the old ways." The Star Dancer's response shocked the observing alien vessels. Instead of fleeing or calling for help like most merchant ships, Wong's vessel executed a complex series of maneuvers that his great-grandmother had once used against pirates in the South China Sea, adapted perfectly for 3-dimensional space. The raiders, expecting easy prey, found themselves caught in a trap centuries in the making. The Star Dancer's apparently vulnerable position was actually a perfect firing solution, its cargo holds concealing defense systems that traced their lineage back to the hidden guns of ancient merchant ships. Back at the Academy, Carell's excitement grew as reports of the Star Dancer's encounter reached him. "You see," he told Lix, pulling up the incident analysis. "These humans, their entire civilization is built on layers of martial knowledge, each generation adding to the last. Even their merchants fight like warriors." He brought up another display, this one showing children in a parkland setting. "Look at this game they call Capture the Flag. It teaches flanking maneuvers, resource management, and tactical thinking. Their young learn warfare through play, yet they grow up to create magnificent art and music." Lix's central eye widened as understanding dawned. "You're saying their martial nature isn't primitive at all. It's sophisticated beyond anything we imagined." "Exactly." Carell's tail twitched with academic excitement. Other species abandoned warfare as they advanced. Humans transcended it. They turned it into an art form, a science, a cultural cornerstone that somehow promotes peace through understanding conflict. The Academy's halls echoed with urgent discussions as Carell's findings spread. Veteran xenoanthropologists debated the implications while military advisors quietly began requesting access to Earth's historical records. In orbit above, commercial vessels adjusted their routes to follow human-operated ships, recognizing them as islands of security in an increasingly uncertain galaxy. Captain Wong's report of the raider encounter reached Earth with little fanfare. Such incidents were common enough to be routine for human crews. But for the watching galaxy, it was yet another piece of evidence that humanity's martial heritage was far more than mere primitive aggression. As Carell compiled his research for presentation to the Galactic Council, he added a personal note. "In our rush to evolve beyond warfare, we forgot that understanding conflict can be the surest path to preventing it. Humanity never forgot this lesson, and now they stand ready to teach us what we lost." The true implications of his discovery would soon become clear to everyone, though not in the way anyone expected. The distress signal pulsed through subspace, its frequency growing more desperate with each passing moment. On the frontier world of New Haven, Colonial Administrator Paxtel watched in horror as massive ships emerged from hyperspace, their obsidian hulls absorbing light like cosmic predators. This is the Arxan Dominion. The transmission cut through all frequencies, its harsh tones brooking no argument. Your world is now under our protection. Resist, and we will demonstrate the meaning of superior force. The peaceful settlement, with its gardens and research centers, had no meaningful defenses. Like most Galactic Council worlds, they had long since abandoned military installations as relics of a less enlightened age. The Arxan ships descended through the atmosphere, their massive forms casting shadows over the crystal spires of New Haven's capital. In the Galactic Council's emergency chamber, the transmission played again, accompanied by similar reports from 6 other frontier worlds. The council members, representatives of dozens of peaceful species, found themselves facing something they had never truly prepared for: an aggressive, expansion-minded species with superior firepower. "Our peacekeeping vessels are en route," announced High Counselor Zelvin, his usual confident tone wavering slightly. "Though they are primarily equipped for scientific exploration and diplomatic missions. If I may speak," Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chamber's worried murmurs. She had been Earth's representative for 3 years now, though many still saw her presence as a curiosity. "We have been monitoring the Arxan fleet movements since their first appearance at the galaxy's edge." The chamber fell silent as she approached the central holographic display. With a few quick gestures, she overlaid the Arxan attack patterns with historical Earth military campaigns. The correlation was unmistakable. "These attack vectors mirror ancient conquest strategies," she explained, highlighting key positions. "The Arxan are employing what we would call a classic pincer movement on a galactic scale." However, she manipulated the display again, revealing dozens of hidden human sensor platforms throughout the frontier sectors. "We've been preparing for this possibility since we joined the Council." The alien representatives stared in shock at the extent of human military preparation. What they had dismissed as primitive paranoia now seemed like prescient wisdom. The sensor network showed the Arxan fleet movements in perfect detail, along with projected targets based on historical analysis of similar campaigns from Earth's past. "How?" High Counselor Zelvin struggled to form the question. "How did you know to prepare for this?" Admiral Chen's expression remained professionally neutral. "On Earth, we have a saying: those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. We've seen this pattern before in our own history. A technologically superior force, believing itself invincible, underestimating those they seek to conquer." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "The Arxan are making the same mistakes we once made and learned from." The tactical display shifted, showing precise predictions of the Arxan's next moves based on historical analysis of similar military campaigns. Earth's hidden defense network had tracked their ship movements, analyzed their weapons capabilities, and even decoded much of their command structure, all without revealing humanity's true capabilities. "We can stop them," Admiral Chen stated firmly. "But the Council needs to understand something. Humanity never stopped being warriors. We simply learned to be warriors who prefer peace." As if to emphasize her point, another alert flashed across the display. The Arxan had taken their 7th world, their confidence growing with each unopposed victory. They had yet to encounter any meaningful resistance, unaware that they were being studied, analyzed, and understood by a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war. "The choice is yours," Admiral Chen concluded, her words echoing in the chamber. "But remember, the Arxan think they're the galaxy's first warrior species. They're about to learn how wrong they are." In the silence that followed, the Council faced a profound choice: continue with their ineffective peaceful response, or embrace the martial wisdom of a species they had once dismissed as primitively violent. The galaxy's future hung in the balance. Deep beneath Europa's icy surface, lights flickered to life in corridors that had waited silently for decades. Captain Sarah Martinez stood at the command center of humanity's best-kept secret, the Soul Defense Initiative. Around her, Crews rushed to their stations as hidden shipyards awakened from their long dormancy. "Status report," she commanded, watching as massive holographic displays illuminated the chamber. The crystalline caverns beneath Europa's surface had concealed an entire fleet, each ship incorporating lessons learned from centuries of naval warfare. "Heritage Fleet reporting ready, Captain," her XO responded, gesture controlling multiple data streams. "Yorktown, Enterprise, Victory, and Trafalgar battle groups are powering up. All crews report combat ready." In lunar orbit, Admiral Chen addressed the hastily assembled Galactic Council delegation. The representatives watched in stunned silence as massive hangar doors opened on the moon's dark side, revealing ships that merged human martial heritage with advanced technology. "The Sol Defense Initiative was established the day we first detected alien signals," Chen explained, her calm voice belying the gravity of the moment. "We hoped we'd never need it, but humanity's history taught us to prepare for all possibilities." The council members observed the fleet emerging from its hidden berths. Each vessel bore the name of a historical Earth battle or ship, their designs clearly influenced by centuries of naval architecture adapted for space warfare. The Yorktown's massive form led the formation, its hull incorporating stealth technologies that made it nearly invisible to standard scanners. "These ships," Chen continued, "represent more than just military power. They carry the cumulative knowledge of every naval engagement in human history, from ancient triremes to modern space combat simulations." On the bridge of the Yorktown, Captain Martinez received her first combat deployment orders. The ship's neural interface, synced with her command crew, displayed tactical overlays that would have been familiar to admirals from centuries past. "Plot an intercept course," she ordered. "The Arxen are about to learn that humanity remembers every lesson our ancestors paid for in blood." The Heritage Fleet moved with precision that shocked their alien observers. Ships formed into battle groups using formations that echoed ancient naval tactics, adapted perfectly for three-dimensional space combat. The Trafalgar Group demonstrated maneuvers that would have made Admiral Nelson proud, while the Enterprise Squadron employed carrier tactics refined since World War II. Back in the council chamber, Dr. Carell could barely contain his excitement as he explained to the assembled representatives, "Look at their formation. It's a perfect adaptation of the crossing the T maneuver used by Earth's wet navies, but modified for space warfare. They've taken every successful strategy from their history and evolved it." The Arxen's advanced scouts detected the human fleet's approach. Their initial scans dismissed the Earth ships as primitive, noting their resemblance to ocean-going vessels. This misunderstanding would prove costly. "All ships, battle stations," Martinez commanded. Her crews responded with practiced efficiency, generations of military tradition evident in every action. "Execute Operation Rising Tide." The Heritage Fleet split into its component battle groups, each moving with purpose. The Trafalgar Group appeared to present an easy target, while Yorktown's squadron vanished into the sensor shadows of a nearby asteroid field, a tactic borrowed from submarine warfare. Admiral Chen watched from Lunar Command as the fleet executed maneuvers that had been practiced countless times in simulation. "Humanity never forgot how to fight," she told the astonished council members. "We simply chose to master peace as thoroughly as we had mastered war." The first engagement was about to begin, and with it, the galaxy would witness the difference between simple aggression and the refined art of warfare that humanity had spent millennia perfecting. As the Heritage Fleet moved into attack position, they carried with them not just weapons and shields, but the weight of human military history, a force more powerful than any alien technology. The Battle of Proxima Centauri began with silence. Captain Martinez watched from the Yorktown's bridge as the Arxen fleet approached, their formation rigid and predictable. Her tactical display highlighted the enemy's vulnerabilities, the same ones that had spelled defeat for countless overconfident forces throughout human history. "All ships, execute Salamis Protocol," she ordered, invoking a battle plan named after an ancient Greek naval victory. The Heritage Fleet responded as one, their months of drilling evident in every precise movement. The Trafalgar group split into 3 elements, appearing to scatter in disarray. The Arxan commander, Supreme Warmaster Krivax, watched with disdain. These humans fight like their primitive seafaring ancestors. He sneered to his bridge crew. Close in and destroy them. Across the battlefield, Dr. Carell observed from a safe distance aboard a Council science vessel. Watch closely, he told his fellow researchers. You're about to see why humans never stopped studying military history. The Arxan fleet surged forward, their superior numbers forming a massive wedge designed to split the seemingly retreating human forces. They never saw Captain Wang's merchant fleet dropping out of hyperspace behind them, each trading vessel now revealing military-grade weapons hidden beneath civilian transponder signatures. Execute Phase 2, Martinez commanded. The Yorktown emerged from the asteroid field's shadow, leading a precision strike at the Arxan formation's exposed flank. Each human ship moved with practiced grace, their trajectories creating a 3-dimensional version of ancient naval crossing maneuvers. Impossible. Krivax snarled as his tactical display highlighted multiple incoming vectors. The human ships moved like dancers in a lethal ballet, each position supporting the others in ways his crew couldn't predict. Their formation shifted constantly, adapting to every Arxan response with fluid precision. Wang's merchant vessels struck first, their hidden weapon ports unleashing salvos that overwhelmed the Arxan rear shields. The enemy ships attempted to turn and face this unexpected threat, exactly as planned. They're copying the Battle of Trafalgar, Carell exclaimed excitedly, watching the human fleet's movements. Let's see how they've adapted it for zero gravity. Brilliant. The Yorktown's battle group sliced through the Arxan formation's exposed flank, their weapons finding weak points that Martinez's crew had identified through careful study of previous encounters. Each shot was placed with surgical precision. Disabled enemy vessels left spinning in the void. All ships, Thermopyla formation, Martinez ordered. The Heritage fleet collapsed into a defensive sphere, drawing the frustrated Arxan ships into a carefully prepared kill zone. As the enemy pressed their attack, human vessels rotated positions with practiced efficiency, ensuring no shield faced continuous fire. Krivax watched in growing horror as his fleet's numerical advantage evaporated. The humans fought with a sophistication his forces had never encountered, each movement part of a larger strategy that seemed to anticipate his every response. Status report, Admiral Chen requested from Lunar Command, where the Galactic Council representatives watched in awe. Enemy fleet at 60% combat effectiveness. Martinez responded calmly. Executing final phase, Operation Agincourt. The Heritage fleet's formation suddenly shifted again, transforming into an arrow-shaped formation that drove straight through the Arxan center. Like their ancestors at the ancient Battle of Agincourt, the human forces turned their opponent's strength against them, using the Arxan's own massive ships as cover against their allies' fire. Full retreat, Krivax finally ordered, but it was too late. His formerly precise formation had devolved into chaos, each ship fighting individually against an enemy that moved as one perfect unit. As the remaining Arxan vessels flowed into hyperspace, the council chamber erupted in excited discussion. They had just witnessed something unprecedented. Space combat as an art form, refined through millennia of human military tradition. Remember, Dr. Carell told his stunned colleagues, humans didn't just preserve their military knowledge, they evolved it. Every defeat, every victory in their history taught them something. Today, we saw the result of those lessons. The Battle of Proxima Centauri would be studied for generations to come, marking the day the galaxy learned why humanity's warrior heritage was something to be respected, not dismissed. The newly established Terran Combat Academy gleamed under Centauri Prime's twin suns, its architecture blending Earth's military academies with alien aesthetics. In the central courtyard, Admiral Chen watched as the first class of alien cadets assembled, their diverse forms representing 20 different species from across the galaxy. "Welcome to the first day of your training," she addressed them, her voice carrying across the parade ground. "You're here because your worlds have recognized something crucial. True strength lies not in weapons, but in wisdom." Among the cadets stood Zeri, a young Centaurian whose homeworld had suffered under Arxan occupation. She watched intently as Captain Martinez stepped forward, now wearing an instructor's insignia. "Your first lesson begins with this," Martinez announced, activating a holographic display. Ancient Earth battlefields materialized in the air, showing everything from Roman legions to modern naval engagements. Every victory, every defeat you see here taught humanity something vital. In the observation gallery, Dr. Carell sat with other xenoanthropologists, documenting this unprecedented cultural exchange. "Notice how they're starting with basic principles," he murmured into his recorder. "The humans understand that you can't teach advanced tactics without first establishing fundamental concepts." The first practical exercise took place in the Academy's massive simulation chamber. Zeri found herself commanding a virtual spacecraft, faced with a tactical scenario drawn from Earth's Battle of Salamis. "Remember," Martinez's voice guided them, "your ancestors' solutions to tactical problems remain valid, even as technology evolves. The principles of warfare transcend the tools used to wage it." In another section of the Academy, Captain Wong taught a class on logistics and strategic planning. His merchant fleet's successful ambush of the Arxan had demonstrated the importance of civilian-military coordination. "Supply lines determine victory more often than battleships," he explained, showing historical examples from Earth's campaigns. "The greatest admiral is helpless without proper logistics. Many of humanity's most decisive victories came from disrupting enemy supply chains rather than direct combat." As weeks passed, the alien cadets began to grasp something their civilizations had forgotten. Warfare was not merely about violence, but about understanding. They learned how human martial arts dojos taught more than combat techniques. They instilled discipline, respect, and the responsibility that came with power. "Today's exercise," Martinez announced one morning, "will demonstrate why humans train in hundreds of different combat styles." The simulation chamber transformed into a zero-gravity environment filled with obstacles. Each situation demands different approaches. Rigid thinking leads to defeat. Zeri excelled in these lessons, her species' natural agility complementing the human combat techniques she was learning. During one simulation, she combined Centaurian spatial awareness with Earth naval tactics to achieve victory in a scenario that had stumped her classmates. "Excellent adaptation," Martinez praised. "You've understood a key principle. Don't just copy our techniques, integrate them with your own strengths." In the Academy's Strategic Command Center, Admiral Chen met with Galactic Council observers. The holographic displays showed multiple training exercises in progress, each incorporating lessons from humanity's military history. "What you're witnessing," she explained, "is not just the transfer of tactical knowledge. We're teaching a philosophy that took humanity millennia to develop, the understanding that the best warriors train hard, so they rarely need to fight." The council representatives watched as alien cadets practiced formations drawn from ancient Earth cavalry maneuvers, adapted for space warfare. Each movement demonstrated the perfect blend of power and precision that had shocked the Arxan at Proxima Centauri. "They're learning quickly," Dr. Carell noted, reviewing the cadets' progress. "It's fascinating how readily they absorb these concepts once they understand the underlying principles." As the first training cycle neared its end, the Academy had already begun to transform galactic society. The cadets would return to their homeworlds not just with new tactical knowledge, but with a deeper understanding of why humanity had maintained its martial traditions while pursuing peace. Zeri stood at attention during the graduation ceremony, her posture reflecting both human military discipline and Centaurian grace. She represented hope for a new era, one where the galaxy's species could defend themselves not through raw power, but through wisdom earned across countless generations. Supreme War Master Kryvax stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the massive Arxan armada emerge from hyperspace near Saturn's rings. 300 capital ships, the largest fleet ever assembled in known space, prepared to strike at humanity's heart. "Let them see their doom approaching," he commanded, allowing his ships to be detected. After the humiliation at Proxima Centauri, he had spent months gathering this overwhelming force. No amount of clever tactics can stand against such power. In Lunar Command, Admiral Chen studied the tactical display with profound calm. The Arxan fleet's approach exactly matched their intelligence predictions, drawn from analysis of 1,000 historical battles. "They expect us to concentrate our forces around Earth," she noted to her staff, just as every invader throughout history expected defenders to protect their homeworld at all costs. Captain Martinez, commanding the Yorktown battle group from the outer system, smiled as her sensors detected the Arxan fleet's formation. "All ships, execute Operation Solar Wind," she ordered, just like Admiral Yue at Myeongyang Strait. The trap was centuries in the making. As the Arxan fleet pushed past Saturn, they encountered only token resistance. Their confidence grew with each passing hour, their massive formation maintaining perfect order as they advanced toward their target. Multiple contacts. Kryvax's sensor officer suddenly reported, emerging from the asteroid belt. The Heritage Fleet's main force revealed itself, but not as a defensive wall protecting Earth. Instead, human ships emerged in small, highly mobile battle groups, each operating independently yet part of a greater whole. "They're copying feudal Japanese naval tactics," Dr. Carell explained to the Council observers, watching from a safe distance. Small, fast units harassing a larger force, preventing them from bringing their full power to bear. The Arxan fleet's neat formation began to fragment as they tried to engage the elusive human ships. Each time they concentrated their force, the human vessels would scatter, only to regroup and strike from unexpected vectors. Phase 2, Chen commanded. On her signal, Captain Wang's merchant fleet emerged from hiding in the Lagrange points, their civilian transponders switching to reveal yet another battle group. The Arxan found their supply lines suddenly under attack, their carefully planned invasion becoming increasingly chaotic. "They're not even fighting us directly," Kryvax raged as another strike force slipped through his defenses. "They're playing games." But it was no game. Every movement of the human fleet served a purpose, herding the massive Arxan armada into precisely calculated positions. The solar wind and planetary gravitational fields became weapons in humanity's arsenal, centuries of astronomical study paying off in tactical advantage. "Execute final phase," Chen ordered. The signal reached every human ship simultaneously, triggering a maneuver that would have made Alexander the Great proud. The scattered human forces suddenly converged, their seemingly random movements revealing themselves as parts of a massive envelopment strategy. The Arxan fleet found itself caught in a three-dimensional version of the ancient hammer and anvil tactic, with the sun's radiation on one side and concentrated human firepower on the other. "Magnificent," Zeri whispered from her position as a junior officer on the Yorktown. Every lesson from the Academy, applied on a solar system scale. The Arxan's mighty armada, supposedly too powerful to defeat, found itself trapped in a kill zone centuries in the making. Their ships, designed for overwhelming force, proved poorly suited for the intricate maneuvering required to escape. "You see now," Chen's message broadcast to all frequencies. "This is why humanity never stopped learning from our past. Every battle, every war taught us something. We remembered those lessons not because we love fighting, but because we understood that true victory comes from wisdom, not just power." The battle's outcome was no longer in doubt. The Arxan fleet, caught between tactical genius refined over millennia and the natural forces of the solar system itself, began to surrender in groups. As the fighting wound down, Dr. Carell added a final note to his observations. Today, the galaxy witnessed not just a military victory, but the triumph of human martial philosophy. They defeated the greatest fleet ever assembled not through superior technology or numbers, but through the accumulated wisdom of countless generations. The Great Hall of the Galactic Academy on Centauri Prime, buzzed with anticipation as representatives from 100 worlds gathered for the graduation ceremony of its third class. The chamber, once devoted purely to scientific pursuits, now displayed holographic recreations of Earth's greatest battles alongside scientific achievements, each paired to show how warfare had driven innovation. Admiral Chen stood at the podium, her dress uniform gleaming under the twin suns streaming through the crystal dome. Before her sat not just military cadets, but scientists, diplomats, and civilian leaders from across the galaxy, all here to learn humanity's most important lessons. 5 years ago, she began, the galaxy saw humanity as an anomaly. You wondered why we maintained our martial traditions in an age of peace. Today, you understand that preparing for war and working for peace are not contradictory. They are complementary. In the front row, Zeri, now an instructor herself, nodded in agreement. Her own combat experience against the Arxen had proven invaluable in teaching the new generation. Beside her sat Captain Wong, his merchant fleet now the model for a new type of defense force that integrated civilian and military capabilities. The Arxen taught us all a valuable lesson, Chen continued. Not about the importance of military strength, but about the danger of forgetting our history. They thought themselves invincible because they had never known defeat. Humanity remembered every defeat, every victory, every hard lesson paid for in blood. Dr. Carell, now the Academy's head of military anthropology, activated a holographic display showing the evolution of human warfare from ancient spears to modern starships. Each stage, he explained to the assembled dignitaries, built upon the last. Humans didn't just preserve their military knowledge. They refined it, questioned it, improved it. The display shifted to show the new Galactic defense network, based on human designs but incorporating the unique strengths of each member species. It represented a new approach to security. Centaurian spatial awareness, Morvadian energy manipulation, and dozens of other species' capabilities merged with human tactical doctrine to create something greater than the sum of its parts. But our greatest achievement, Chen continued, gesturing to the graduating class, isn't in the ships we've built or the battles we've won. It's in the understanding we've shared. Each of you returns to your worlds carrying not just tactical knowledge, but a philosophy that took humanity thousands of years to develop. The graduates stood at attention, their diverse forms united by shared purpose. Among them were former adversaries, even a few young Arxen, their species humbled but now learning a better way. You've learned that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when and how to use force, and more importantly, when not to. You've discovered that studying warfare doesn't make you warlike. It makes you appreciate peace all the more. Captain Martinez, watching from her position near the stage, reflected on how far they'd come. The Yorktown, once a secret weapon, now served as a training vessel where species from across the galaxy learned to work together. Her crew included representatives from 40 different worlds, each bringing unique perspectives to ancient human tactics. As you leave these halls, Chen concluded, remember that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't our military might. It was our understanding that being prepared for war doesn't mean you desire it, that studying conflict can lead to deeper peace, that the wisest warriors are those who train so diligently that they rarely need to fight. The ceremony concluded with a new tradition. Each graduate received a ceremonial blade forged from metal, recovered from the Battle of Proxima Centauri, symbolizing the transformation of weapons into tools of peace. As the twin suns set, casting golden light across the Academy's grounds, Dr. Carell made a final entry in the historical record. Humanity's true victory wasn't in defeating the Arxen. It was in teaching the galaxy that understanding war isn't about celebrating violence. It's about ensuring that force, when needed, serves wisdom rather than mere power. In doing so, they've created something unprecedented. A peace strengthened by martial knowledge rather than weakened by its absence. The stars emerged above the Academy, watching over a galaxy forever changed by the species who had mastered war not to wage it, but to prevent it.